All right, how's everybody doing out there? Check it out, we have some intro music this time. Welcome to the second edition. You can call it episode 2, you could call it part 2 of our pilot episode of weird news. All the weird news going on in the world right now. That's what we're going to talk about. Just like our last show. If you have checked that out, thank you so much. If you have not, you can go back and check that one out first. And of course, as always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Don't you hear that? Like just about on every single video, but it really does help us out. So if you're able to do that, I am very, very grateful for all the liking and sharing and support in general. Again, we're going to talk about the weird news. Again, what's going on in the world of weird and strange news. First of all, we're going to go to metro.co.uk this morning, and we have a reporter from ITV, which is a station somewhere in the UK that I am actually familiar with to a point. A reporter from ITV was doing kind of like a remote setup from somewhere. So he was outside and setting up for like a live broadcast, a live remote. I'm not sure exactly what he was planning to speak about, but as it so happens, another man who appears to be a little bit younger was fooling around behind him, or in the shot. So he got himself into the shot and he started fooling around, and he basically ruined the shot. So the reporter, who the article suggests probably he wasn't having a very good day, got pretty upset, and he said, "I'll effing bang you out," at a man. We'll hear a little bit about that in a minute. So the reporter's name seems to be Callum Watkinson, according to this article, and he ended up asking the man if he even had a job himself, and then later suggested that he probably worked at McDonald's or Foot Locker, and he was basically trying to, talk down this guy who had ruined his shot. He wasn't impressed about it. He's probably having a bad day and probably given a crappy assignment to go out somewhere and talk about something boring like the weather, or some boring thing was probably going on, like the opening of a new library, or the post office was coming out with a new stamp. He was probably covering a really boring story and was having a bad enough day, and he was not too nice to this man for walking into his shot. Now, in the other guy's defense, I wasn't there, but the guy that walked into his shot might have been, just on his way somewhere, having a good time, saw a camera and did a little jig. It happens all the time, but apparently this was too far, at least in the opinion of Callum Watkinson, the reporter in question for ITV. By the way, and I quote, "ITV has now apologized for any offense." I'm not sure there was an offense, but anyways, ITV has now apologized for any offense, said they had spoken to the reporter and the matter was being dealt with internally, end quote. Now, the reporter did not act professional, I will say that, but I'm not sure there was any offense. He may have offended the guy in question, but to me it's just a case of everybody having a bad day. Maybe everybody should just apologize and move on. But I will quote a little bit more. Quote, "It happened on Broad Street in Birmingham City Centre, where Watkinson told the man, 'Don't effing do it, and I won't come into your workplace and start effing with you, idiot. You get behind me again, I'm gonna effing bang you out.'" End quote. Well, I don't agree with necessarily those threats that were made at the guy. But the reporter's point of view is, if you had a job, as he stated, at Foot Locker or McDonald's or somewhere else, he claims that he would not be fooling around and getting behind and making a bunch of, basically making a scene of himself for the heck of it to ruin a shot. And he went on. We're gonna try to play a bit of the clip, but he asked the the guy doing all the the reporter asked the guy doing all the tomfoolery, like, why don't you get a job and I'll come behind you and start being an idiot? Do you know how hard it is to broadcast live to 500,000 people? He asked. Do you know how hard it is to concentrate? So, alright. Sounds like the guy was having a bad day. Yeah, some people were not too happy about this. So the article has some comments. One person said, I trust ITV News will be asking for Callum Watkinson's resignation for treating people with such arrogance and disrespect. That's a little bit far. Another wrote, fair enough, you should tell the lad not to do what he did, but to threaten him and also mock low-paid workers at Foot Locker and McDonald's is absolutely shameful. I'll mostly agree with that. He went a little bit far, attacking the guy about what kind of job he did, or if he had a job. But I guess the point he was making is, I'm trying to do my job. Why would you think it was okay to jump into my shot and act like a ass monkey, which I do somewhat understand. It's not an opportunity to run into a shot and be acting that way, but like I said, ITV has internally dealt with the spokesperson. He probably got like a little slap on the wrist and told, why would you do that? It doesn't look good for the station. Don't do it again. And they've apologized. So, I mean, that's really the gist of it all. And what we're gonna do now with our high budget system, we're gonna try to play a clip of this, so to see if we can get any more context. We're not gonna be obviously we're not gonna get the visual, but here's some audio over the Here's some audio of the altercation between the reporter Callum Watkinson and the man who unfortunately decided to make an ass of himself. And yeah, we've got they seem to have people on both sides of the fence in regards to this incident, and maybe some people that are a little bit in the middle. I think I'm a little bit in the middle, so let's try to hear this.
He also said that the council could be in line for a £60 million fine. I'm not higher class than you, mate. I'm just trying to do a job. Have you got a job? Yeah, I do. Well, don't f***ing do it, and I won't come into your workplace and start f***ing with you. Stop being rude. That's just how it is. You get behind me again, I'm bang you out. Why don't you don't get a job, and then I'll come behind you and start being an idiot. I mean, you're already an idiot, mate. Where do you work? Foot Locker? Or McDonald's? Mate, how about sorry for trying to mess up my work? How about that? Do you know how hard it is to broadcast live to 500,000 people? Do you know how hard it is to concentrate? It's quite hard without someone in the background going, oh, do you got ITV? It's got TV. You got ITV. No, ITV. Not anymore, doesn't it?
Alright, so apparently it's very hard to concentrate while you are
not sure which way to go.
Oh shoot, hang on a second. My bad. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty there. My headset cut out and a little bit of an advert began to play there. So, but anyways, so the last thing I want to say about this is he was telling the guy it's very difficult to concentrate while doing a remote, but I mean, that is your job, and I'm sure it's difficult, but I mean, if somebody jumps behind me right now, I'm not going to be like, hey, do you know how hard it is to record a podcast and not have technical difficulties when you're doing it all by yourself, and an ad pops up and starts playing when you're getting ready to speak and end the segment? But I do understand where he's coming from, because, I mean, it's common sense, right? If you see a reporter and a camera, what I don't like is sometimes I'll be walking down the street in a busy city like Toronto, and they've just got it all set up somewhere where I'm almost forced to either take a really long route around the way that I was going to go, or I have no option but to walk right in front of the camera and essentially be on television. And that's happened to me many times over the years, where I'm like, I look like ass this morning. I don't want to walk in front of this shot and have people see me and then send me an email. Hey, I saw you on whatever this morning walking by, and are you okay, man? Because you looked a little rough around the edges this morning. I don't want that, but But when you're choosing to walk into the shot and make a nuisance of yourself, then, you may end up on the Strange and Weird News podcast without a name. We don't have an official name yet, so if anybody out there wants to suggest an official name for this podcast, because we're only into episode 2, and it's not even the official episode 2. It's like, we're just calling this, like, Pilot Part 2. So that's what we're going to do. Anyway, that's what's going on with the ITV article. We're going to get into some more news. Let's see. Let's do... This one's kind of your standard, like, lottery winner story, but it's got kind of an interesting spin to it, so I thought we'd spend a couple of minutes on it. This one's from UPI.com. A man collects a total of $11,000 from 2 scratch-off lottery tickets. So here's what happened. This article is from June the 21st, 2021, by the way. And it's by Ben Hooper, who had, I think, a cameo in our first episode. I think he wrote one of the articles, but that's okay. So, Chris Gast of Wamego, I'm going to say that's Kansas, I believe. Wamego, Kansas. Yes, Wamego, Kansas. Because it says later in the article, Kansas lottery officials, so I got that right. He won $10,000 from a scratch-off lottery ticket, but he ended up collecting a total of $11,000, and that's because while he was making plans to go and redeem his first ticket, he ended up playing again and winning another $1,000. So, the most unlikable man of the morning, who keeps just winning large sums of money from the lottery. Share some of that, man. Quote, Christopher Gast of Wamego told Kansas lottery officials, said... This is a very... Okay, so I'm going to go back up here to the author Ben Hooper, and we're going to pick on you again, because here's how this reads. I'm going to read it how it was written, and I'm going to quote it how it was written, and then we'll make the corrections after. So, quote, Christopher Gast of Wamego told Kansas lottery officials, said he bought a $10,000 cash party scratch-off ticket from the Shortstop 8 store in Wamego as part of his usual daily routine, end quote. So we've got a problem with that sentence, because it says Christopher Gast of Wamego told Kansas lottery officials. It should say that he bought. Or it could say Christopher Gast of Wamego said to Kansas lottery officials. But we've got a big UPI.com. You need a new editor, basically. You need a new editor or a new writer. If you need a new writer, contact me. I could probably do a better job than that. So you've got some kind of typo or grammatical error in there. But the gist of the thing is that at first he won this $10,000 prize off a scratch ticket. It goes on to say that he bought the ticket and the coffee in the store right there. He scratched it off. He realized it was a pretty big win. And great. So before he even got to work, everybody found out because he had a coworker in there with him. He had to wait for 2 weeks, the article says, to get a day off to collect his prize. He needed a weekday off, apparently. And in those 2 weeks, he played again and won another $1,000 prize. So by the time he was going to redeem his prize, he had 2 tickets to redeem, and they totaled $11,000. It's too bad this guy that wrote the article... no, I'm not going to pick on him too much, but that's the story. And this fine fella said that he was a coin collector, and he's going to try to find some new coins to add to his collection with this money. Like, dude, really? And he's apparently... him and or his family were in need of a new air conditioner, so they're going to use some of the winnings, some of the prize money for that, which, see, that's a happy ending. That's a happy story. But spending it on a bunch of random coins, well, to each their own, but I don't quite get that. Anyway, instead of going into the bubbles, I don't think we're going to do like our bubble transition today. We're at about the 15-minute mark, and yesterday we did about 30 minutes, and that seems to be our sweet spot, that 29 to 30-minute mark. So let's talk about this. Some of you may have already heard about this one, but I wanted to go over it myself. This is the oldest one you're going to hear in the series, because this one dates back to June the 12th, and we're going to use an article from npr.org this morning. And basically the headline of this article says, a lobster diver in Cape Cod says a humpback whale scooped him up and spat him out. This was like all the rage the other day. Everybody was talking about it, and so I'm not going to make it the main event of today's episode or anything like that, but I did want to look into it a little bit, because it's got some biblical proportions to it. So let's see what we can unpack here. So basically the article from npr.org says, quote, a commercial lobster diver says he escaped relatively unscathed after nearly being swallowed by a humpback whale in a biblical-sounding encounter that whale experts describe as rare but plausible, end quote. So, right there in the beginning, he said he was nearly swallowed, and everything that I've heard up till now was insisting that he was actually swallowed. So let's see how this develops. The man's name is Michael Packard. He was 56. He's been in a lot of local interviews lately, probably some non-local interviews by now, lots of social media stuff. He was, quote, diving off the coast of Provincetown, end quote, and this was on a Friday morning, sometime before the article came out, sometime, I believe, this month, when the whale suddenly scooped him up, apparently, and I'll quote a little more. This is an exact quote from this guy, Michael Packard, 56, said, quote, I was in his closed mouth for about 30 to 40 seconds before he rose to the surface and spit me out. And he later wrote on, end quote, and then he later wrote on Facebook, quote, I am very bruised up but have no broken bones, end quote. So, as I unpack this article, he was only in the whale's mouth for about 30 to 40 seconds. It's not like you could make a whole 3-hour movie about this unless you started stretching the details and pretending he was in there longer. So the weirdest thing about this is I thought up until now that he had spent some actual time in the whale's mouth. So I guess I'm pretty naive, really. So I'll just finish this up a little bit. Quote, the Cape Cod Times reports that Packard was pulled out of the water by his crewmen and rushed back to the shore, where he was transported to Cape Cod Hospital. He walked, albeit with a limp, out of the hospital that afternoon, end quote. It also says he's suffering from soft tissue damage and that sort of thing, but the man is fine. I like how it's all the Cape Cod Times and the Cape Cod Hospital. It's all very just the Cape Cod enter whatever here. You know, the Cape Cod restaurant, the Cape Cod museum, the Cape Cod butcher, the Cape Cod Hotel and Casino. It's all very to the point there. No, I have no idea. So, he was 45 feet down in the water and felt a huge bump. Everything went dark. He thought he was attacked by a shark. And then he says he felt around and didn't feel any teeth, and he wasn't in any great pain, and realized he was in a whale's mouth and that he was trying to be swallowed. Imagine that. The first thing I would think about is the Bible. The Bible. Usually the first thing I think about is not the Bible, but the first thing I think about when I hear this story is the Bible. And we'll see if we can get a little bit of audio from this one as well. We quote, Packard was still wearing his scuba gear. He was still wearing his scuba gear, ladies and gentlemen. Packard was still wearing his scuba gear and breathing apparatus inside the whale's mouth, which he said was completely dark. Fearing he wouldn't make it out alive, He thought about his wife and sons. Well, end quote. Well, of course, you're going to say that. Even if you weren't. I mean, I believe that he was. But even if he wasn't, he'd probably say that that's who he was thinking about. Otherwise, he's just going to face worse scorn than of that. You know, he thinks right now being swallowed by a whale is bad. Imagine if he forgot to say, oh, as I was being swallowed by that whale, I was thinking about my lovely wife and children. But anyhow, if you want to check out this article, it's got a little bit more information about what the witnesses saw. One of them was named Joe Francis, a charter boat captain who happened to be nearby, said, quote, I saw Mike come flying out of the water feet first with his flippers on and land back in the water. He told that to WBZ-TV. And we're going to go on a little bit here. Quote, I jumped aboard the boat. We got him up, got his tank off, got him on the deck and calmed him down. And here goes. Joy was in the mouth of a whale, end quote. That is pretty funny. Let's see if we can get any audio in here, since our first attempt at getting audio today went so swimmingly well. So we've got some WBZ audio, Boston, CBSlocal.com. Let's see if we can hear from I almost call them Jonah, but no, let's see if we can hear from Mr. Packard, the man that was in the whale. We'll just do that really quickly. Michael Packard, 56 years old, recently in the mouth of a whale. Let's see if this comes on for us.
And then I realized, oh my God, I'm in a whale's mouth. I'm in a whale's mouth, and he's trying to swallow me. And I thought to myself, okay, this is it. I'm gonna die. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm in a whale's mouth.
Alright, so that's just repeating again. I apologize for that. And then I realized I was in a whale's mouth. And remember when we were talking before about the guy who was pissed off that somebody ran into his shot and started doing a little dance and screwed up his little news reporting video shoot, and there was all that at the beginning of this show. How dare that truck decide right then and there to back up? That reporter should have... No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that was not the best time to interview Whale Man when a truck was backing up like that. So that was not in our studio here. That was an actual truck in wherever they were. Cape Cod, was it? Anyhow, we're not going to worry about all that. That was the man himself, giving his story. We got one more, speaking of stories, we're going to try to get to you, and there is a little bit of audio on this one as well. So we'll see if we can mess up that audio as well. This one is coming to us. Did I say the last one where that was from? NPR.org. Yes, we did. This last one coming up is from themirror.co.uk, and the headline is Mum Heartbroken as Not One Person Turns Up to Her Son's 6th Birthday Party at Park. Alright, so apparently this mum who was having a birthday party for her child at the park invited 22 children. Hopefully she invited the... maybe that was the problem. Did she invite the adults that had to bring the 22 children? Because they probably couldn't drive themselves. That might have been the issue. Let's find out. This article is by Courtney Pochin. They call her an audience writer. It's from June the 22nd, which is today. I don't know if that makes any difference. So this article starts off by saying, quote, if you have children, chances are you do anything to make sure they're happy because seeing them upset is the worst feeling in the world, end quote. So as we know, this is a heartbreaking story about a mother who claims that she invited 22 people to the party, which was being held at a local park. In her area, there are no major COVID restrictions anymore. They've been lifted, so guests would have been allowed to attend, apparently maybe even an indoor party, but she made sure to make sure to plan an outdoor party, a safer outdoor party, and she invited everyone, and I guess nobody came up. A TikTok use. Now, I'm not sure if the mother is the person who has TikTok, but a TikTok user named Donners86 made a TikTok to share. It says to share her devastation after not one single person turned up to her son's birthday party. Okay, so once again, we just have these articles that are worded a little bit strangely, and it makes you wonder if these people know how to. Anyway, so without getting too far into that, it says a TikTok user named Donners86, and I quote: a TikTok user named Donners86 took to the video sharing program to share her devastation after not one single person turned up to her son's 6th birthday party. So to me, I would have wrote the mother, who is a TikTok user and goes by the name Donners86, took to the video sharing platform to express her devastation. That's what I would have said. But anyways, she is the parent. She's from the United States. She claims she had 22 people invited. None of them came. So she was quite upset. I don't know what she told her son. But in the video it says, quote, so we're sitting at the park for JJ's birthday party. We got everything ready. His party started half an hour ago. He had literally 0 people show up for his birthday. My poor little man, end quote. And as she's talking, the camera is showing her son playing at the park by himself. There's a table full of birthday stuff, and there's nobody there. Out of the 22 invites, nobody's there. Now, to be honest, still a pandemic, so I don't know that I'd be bringing all those kids even outside on the playground to a birthday party, but I will argue the other side as well, that if everybody was very careful and socially distanced and all of that, maybe 22, kind of a large number of kids, it probably could have been done in some kind of a safe way. Probably the safest way to have had this party would have been virtually, but okay, if the restrictions were taken away in your area and it's a legal thing to do, and you've done it safely and you've sent out the invitations, my question is, did you not have any RSVP? So if you would have had an RSVP and you would have tallied up all the people who RSVP'd and you came up with that number and that number was 0 or close to it, you could have had the opportunity to say, maybe this party's not going to be happening. Maybe I can do something else for my son. Take him to Chuck E. Cheese or something else. I don't know. But it is a little bit heartbreaking because I would imagine that young JJ will remember this day probably for the rest of his life. My pandemic birthday party that nobody came to. And I have a feeling that the mother was probably more upset. I don't know how old this child is, but I bet you the mother was more upset than the child. But I also would venture to believe that the more upset the mother became, the more upset the child probably became as well. And once he finds out that this entire thing has gone viral, who knows how the poor kid will feel. But I know there were some people on social media who had some interesting reactions and wanted to send him presents and all sorts of things. So that's the funny and strange and weird stuff going on in the world today. We're at our sweet spot 29-minute mark. I'm just going to see if we can pull up, since we've done such a swimming job with the audio today, let's see if we can just pull this up before we go and see if we can. Here we go.
So we're sitting at the park for JJ's birthday party. We got everything ready. His party started half an hour ago. had literally 0 people show up for his birthday. My poor little man.
Alright, so we're out of here. And I just wanted to let you all know that if you have any questions or comments, please... Oops! There we go again. We had to... If you have any questions or comments, please let me know underneath this video, and please like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you want to be the first to know when the next video comes out. We also do other things on this channel right now, so if you're a fan of those or want to check them out, please do. It can all be found in the archives. We are trying out a few different things on this channel, on this network, and we'll see how it all goes. And we would love your feedback, and we hope you're enjoying this new venture, this new weird news podcast. And I have a lot of fun doing it, so maybe you'll be finding it a couple of times a week at a certain time and day, and we're gonna start putting it together with a little bit more structure. But for now, we're gonna say good bye for now, and thank you for listening, and we'll play some bubbles. We'll play some bubbles just like last time, just to get on out of here, because I have no idea. We don't want to play any copyrighted music and then have the whole thing taken down, so we're just gonna drift off into some bubbles, and I'll see you next time.